Isn't it amazing that the very ones that are now demanding that everybody hand over their mortal coils, their flesh, right, to unelected officials making decisions on vaccines after a year and a half of utter confusion and a lack of transparency, right, are the ones that also demand the right to do whatever they want with their own bodies. That's called duplicity. Now let's talk about corporations. First off, no corporation, no organization, no authority here in this country has the right to demand anybody become a test subject for Big Pharma or anybody else. Do you understand what I'm telling you? Right? The American people are not here to continue to be your test subjects. You have a broken system, then we'll fix it, right? But forcing this stuff on everybody is simply not going to be allowed to continue. Now, I'm not against vaccinations, right? When they have been tested and trials are transparency. Yeah, there's transparency with it, with data. But I don't do anything that people under fear and confusion demand of me. Because fear and confusion, and then you add to that obscuration, right? And force, an attempt to force complicity, right? Are all signs of those that are, one, either unprincipled, two, unbridled from cogent thought, or three, hiding something that they don't want anybody else to know. Now, I'm going to tell you this, and you need to understand, if you continue to force stuff on people on one hand and silence, right, and censor those on the other hand that demand transparency, well, you're going to drink your own cup. Do you understand what I'm telling you? You know, I have a long history with your Big Pharma and how it is that your systems work. Okay? Let me just give you the most recent example of why this is a big deal to me. It's all the people that I buried because of how your Big Pharma system worked with opiates. You know exactly what was going on. You knew exactly what was going on and didn't do anything about it because you care more about profits, right? And isn't it amazing that all of a sudden COVID, right, which has a small mortality rate, right, is the only thing you hear in the news, right? It's the only thing you hear in the news. What about the 30 to 45% increase in opiate addiction during that time period? We were already in a massive epidemic, right? You know, opiates, right, and other illicit drugs have killed more people than COVID. Now I want you to consider that. So all of a sudden, right, Big Pharma goes from being, you know, in the hot seat and under the gun to being the savior of the world. Now, why do you think that is? Look, it's time you wake up. If these people, including, you know, at the NIH, you look at the NIH, look at their own data, right? The Big Pharma is using you as test subjects, right? They're protected, right? If something goes sideways, either in the short term or the long term with these vaccines, you have no recourse legally. They're protected. Now I call that lawlessness, right? There's no culpability. There's no accountability. So when you think through this and you look at companies and industries demanding their people get vaccines. And on one hand saying it's their choice, but on the other hand threatening, right, to remove them from their positions, right? That's not choice. That's forced complicity, right? Do not be compliant with such people or organizations. Push back on them and take them to task.